welcome to Carolina Crafting. I'm Jackie Jentz. Today we're in Young Harris, Georgia with Mary Lengnick. I met Mary at a craft show last fall, Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving. Right. And Mary's got one of these personalities that just jumps right out there and grabs you, and I love that. And Mary does jewelry, but she's going to do a silver piece today.
Right. I'm going to do one little silver piece to show you how you can take a flat piece of silver, curve it, dimple it, and do all sorts of things. And you can make a pretty necklace depending on what size it is. You can make earrings. You can even make a bracelet if you like.
How long have you been doing this?
I've been beading for over 20 years.
Oh my.
Which was my first love. And then about 6 years ago, I started going to William Holland Lapidary School.
I've heard about that school.
Yeah. And I started taking from different silversmithing teachers. Mm-hmm. I can show you some of the things that I learned there in the other room that we may show.
We'll go look at that later.
Yeah. But this is the room that I do all my annealing and banging, and just, my husband kids me. He says, well, Mary, he says, if you're mad at me, go down and bang your silver a little bit. Which I do.
Which I do. You have a silversmith table?
Yes, I had this made for me from a local person. And he put everything in there. What's so nice about it is you have everything at hand's length that you need. He built this, and then my husband took plywood and extended it around so I could do some different things with it.
A nice pegboard setup,
yeah,
too, and like any craft that you do, having the right tools is so important, and you've got them all.
It is so expensive, and if a person wants to start getting into silversmithing, I strongly suggest that they start with copper, because it is so reasonable, and you can play with it and create little bangles and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then after you get the hang of it, then you can go to the high price silver and do it again.
Yeah, you don't want to start messing up really good stuff.
I just bought some silver the other day, and I bought, I guess it was 9 ounces, and it was close to $600. So silver's getting up just like the gold.
And I complain about spending $8.99 for a yard of fabric, so I shouldn't complain.
Well, we save every bit of it. Just save everything that you have, because you can make all sorts of things with it.
Yeah, I save all my scraps. So yeah. I think all crafters just hoard stuff.
Right. Right. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to anneal this piece of silver. And when you anneal it, it makes it very, very soft and pliable, so you can dimple it and do all sorts of things with it. When you anneal a piece of silver and you're going to be working on it, there's no sense of you cleaning it until after you get finished playing with it.
When you put heat to it, it turns.
It's
going to turn darker.
Right. Okay.
What was that? What was that?
This is okay. This is what I use to set my torch on fire.
Ah.
It's fun. It's run by a battery. You don't have to click it and everything else.
Yeah.
So
that's
what
so
you do, yeah, what you do is.
I'm standing back.
No, it's fine. This is settling. This is a torch, and what you do is you turn it on until you hear it hiss.
Cool.
And you have that. And all you do is you come down here like this and you anneal it. And it's going to turn. It's going to turn a little red. And when you get like a little rosy red, you know it's annealed. See how it's starting to turn red? So you know it's now annealed. You don't want to go...
You're not going to touch that.
No, you don't want to go too much further with that, because if you do, then it'll start melting.
Oh.
So you just want to get it where it is annealed. You can see here that I have special boards that I fire on. These are fire resistant boards. These are made by a jeweler supply store to help you not to burn things.
Right.
So, okay, never, 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 never touch a anneal piece. You always have a bowl of water that cools it off. And you just dip it.
It's still sizzling even after it's set there for.
It's warm, feel it, but it won't burn you.
Nope.
So, The next thing that you have to do is you have to start pounding this piece of silver. That's fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I have a railroad tie over here, and I have other little things that I pound on. I also have a piece of tree that I pound on that helps it also.
Oh, that's cool. Good.
Yeah. Okay, this is a homemade anvil from a railroad track. A very nice gentleman sold a lot of these. He sanded them, carved them, created it, and it's a wonderful anvil to have. It does not give. We have other little types of baby anvils that we use to tap, tap, tap. And then I use these anvils if I want something to be flat, up and down. And what you do is you put your piece of work in here, put this on top, take a good old hammer, and just slug away. And what it does is it literally flattens it. It's something very good when you're working on silver pieces with soldering another piece of silver on top that has to be flat. So that's what that is. What we're going to do here is I am going to take this and I'm going to create all sorts of little designs in them. What that does is this tree trunk gives that helps you give too. Okay, this is a hit and miss thing that you do. You start hitting it. If you can't see the design in it, then you work up to different anvils to make it harder underneath. I have a hammer that has designs in it, and that helps you a lot. So what you do is make sure your finger's out of the way and you start hitting. There's not an exact science on this. You just want to make a pretty dimple instrument out of it. And you see that it's changing and altering the roundness of it. Don't ever worry about that, because then you take sandpaper or whatever else you use and you reshape it. I use files. I use all sorts of things. Now, I need to put it on this because it's starting to flip. It's too loose. It helps. You have the design in there now. Now let's say you don't have all different types of hammers that have different designs on it to do it. You can basically take nails or anything else that will put a dimple in your silver and make a design. I have a bunch of designs that have like sunsets on them, they have birds on them, you can put alphabets on them. I have alphabets that you can put in there, but I sort of like just the rambling of this. Okay, as you can see, this is concaved a little bit. Never fear, Mother is here. We're going to turn this piece of silver over where the decorating side is down, because what we want to do is we want that to be front. Then we're going to take a hammer and we're going to start pounding. And you turn it little by little. Make sure your little fingers are out of the way or you'll get black and blue. And we're going to try to concave it. What I'm working on is a sandbag. It's a nice thing to have. And you can see how it's starting to curve. Now, it's not curved really straight, but we have things to handle that with. What we have is, once we use the sandbag to start it, we go to a dopping block. The dopping block tools have different round things to help you create a perfect round item. Now, I also have a jeweler's block, which is a wooden block, which is very inexpensive, and you can create basically the same thing. I like using both of them because it helps me. What I do is I start with the wooden thing. I start with my hammer. And this helps it round it out. You could also raid your boyfriend or your husband's toolbox and get hammers out of there. You just have to sand the ends of them to keep them smooth. And I did that on several occasions. And you just go around and around in a slow motion area. You see this is rounded a little bit. Okay, once you get a little more rounded, as you can see, it's a little more concaved, convexed if you look at it this way. Then you want to go to a smaller hole. You see this is one size hole. Now we're going to go to the next size hole. And we're going to start all over again. I think I'll start on this side. And I'm going in a little bit. I'm not on the very end anymore. I'm going in. Now it's a little more concave, see? So let's take this next one. Let's see what we can do here. We can go in a little more. Let's use the rounded side now. See how it's indented on this side? And then you have your pretty design on this. Sometimes you have to work and work and work until you get it perfect. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the steel dopping blocks. You can see these are even more indented. You have to really be careful. I'm going to go to the biggest one. And I'm going to use a big round head. Once you get it the way you want it to look, then you're going to take some files and you're going to file around to make it smooth. Just so we can see this, I open my trusty little drawer and you can see I have cheap files, expensive files. These are jeweler's files. And there's different grades to them. So I'll take out a file that I want to make it really look good. I put it on my jeweler's bench here. And I start, here let me do it on this side so you can see it. I start curving it. So this is what this is what we do, and once we do it and make it smooth, And it's very important if you wear things like this on your shirts and stuff, you don't want it to scratch it or nick your blouse or your shirt or anything. So you really have to make sure that these are smooth. One of the fastest ways you can do it is you use your flex shaft with some cool tools. After you do this, Jackie, you can see how much how much smoother it is. Okay.
It is.
You can take a scrubby.
Oh, scrubby.
And that gets all the little indentions and stuff off. See?
Starting to look good.
Yeah. Okay. There's still some imperfections in this. You can see it's a little wobbly. It's not a good round thing. What you would do is you would go back see how much better that was?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The next thing we have to do is we have to scrub this with a wool brush, which I go over to my sink. So do you want to follow me over there? Okay, what we do is we put a little dish soap, which I have in this bowl, and this is a steel wool brush. And what you do is you start just brushing it. And you're going to see what's going to happen. I'm going to stop and just do half of it so you can see what's going to start happening. See how it's starting to glisten a little bit? It's taking the dirt off of your silver. It takes imperfections out. Now, when you get to this point and you clean it up, you have to make a decision. Do you want to stick it in some liver or sulfur, which makes it dark and antique looking, or do you want to keep it shiny? I didn't make up any liver or sulfur because I usually like these really, really shiny. So after you brush it a little bit, you just pour a little water over it. Take a paper towel, dry it off, and you have it a little bit shinier. To make it look really pristine, you have to put it in a tumbler. What we have next here is we have to put on a bail. What you do is you literally cut out a piece of silver and you measure it. You take a piece of silver like so. This is how I buy my silver in sheets, and this is how I make all my designs and stuff. You're going to bend it around to create a loop like this, because that's where your piece of silver chain or whatever type of chain that you want to put through there. And you file. And also, if you decide that you want to do a lot of silversmithing, forget your nails. It is going, I have to file this more. I just wanted to show you what it looks like. What is going to happen is you're going to put a hole through here, a hole through here, and a hole through there. And what that does is it literally holds that in there. And then I'm going to take a piece of fine silver. I'm going to make a ball. I'm going to put the ball through here, and then I'm going to gently tap it until this is in there. Another way you can do to hold it is you can solder it.
Mary, this is lovely, and the work. Yeah, I hear people come by our booth, all of them, and say, "Yeah, it's too much, and we can't. Yeah, this. Yeah. Why are they charging that?" The work that's involved is just amazing, and you never get all your money back. You get love back, and making people happy, because the work, your work's incredible, but it's time consuming.
It's very time consuming, but one of the nice things that happens to me is they'll say it's way too much, let me look around. I would think about 30% of these people come back and end up buying something from me.
I've seen people do that.
Yeah, which makes me very, very happy. You know, it just thrills me because I try to create things that other people do not do. Mm-hmm. And I always like to have something a little different at every show, where if the same people come back all the time, they'll still come over and say, well, what do you have now? Right. Which is really, really good.
Let's go over and look at your bead studio for a little bit. I know you've got to wrap this up pretty soon, but let's go look at the bead studio, and then we'll close the show out.
Good. Thank you. I really appreciate you all coming here and seeing my things that I do.
Thanks. Good. This is Mary's beading studio, which is just incredible. Looks like a jewelry store. And she says I'm not supposed to open these up, but these have all her beads inside, so I'm trusting her on that. I see she has a piece in progress, which is incredibly beautiful and intricate, and I know I could not do this because it's tedious, but she has that talent that just comes right out. It's just beautiful, and I like the pinks and mauves. Thank you so much for watching Carolina Crafting, and thanks Mary for letting us come to our studio and see all our great things. Be sure and watch us at carolinacrafting.com. You can find me on Facebook, Carolina Crafting, or come by the shop in Brasstown, North Carolina and visit someday. Thanks for watching.